Hey everyone, welcome to my channel. My name is Lexi and today I'm going to be giving you a reader's guide for back to school. Now you may have noticed that I have a different background and that's because I moved back to college. Bear with me through the lack of books, but if you ever do want a dorm tour, I'm definitely willing to do one, so be sure to let me know down below in the comments if that's something that you're interested in. This video is going to have a bunch of different things to get you in those back to school vibes. I'm going to be giving you my book recommendations for back to school. I'm going to be giving a list of my most anticipated fall releases, both books and movies, and then also just some tips on how to read more going back into this fall season. I can't wait to share with you guys all my recommendations, so let's get started. Up first are my back to school book recommendations. For this list, I tried to pick a variety of books that either have the characters going to school or have a school vibe. I tried to pick a couple different books from different genres, so depending on what you're looking for, I have a back to school inspired pick for you. The first two books on my list are Fangirl and Carry On, both by Rainbow Rowell. I read Fangirl going into my freshman year of college, and that was such a good time for me to pick up this book, and I think that's why it means so much to me. This story follows our main character Kath as she tries to navigate her freshman year of college, so I really related to a lot of the struggles that she was going through, and she was at a similar time in life to me, and so it was a really great book for me to read, and I would definitely recommend it to anyone that's just starting out college or around that time in their life. This book takes place over Kath's freshman year as she tries to navigate the often challenging world of college. She's a fan fiction writer and she is way happier being in her room by herself with her computer than she is interacting with people, and I definitely related to that, and so this book just really taught me a lot of things and made me think about myself. This is a really great contemporary as we go into the back to school season, so I would definitely recommend it. I'm also recommending Carry On for a back to school read. Now this one, as opposed to being contemporary, is a lot more high fantasy. For those who don't know, Carry On is actually a spin-off of Fangirl. It centers around the characters in Kath's fan fiction writing. This book follows Simon Snow and it's an interpretation of all the Chosen One stories. I absolutely adore this book, and while it's not as the contemporary back to school vibes, it does take place in a boarding school and it has similar to that Harry Potter vibe. So if anyone is looking for more of a boarding school fantasy magic inspired book, this is definitely one to pick up this fall. I do say I recommend reading Fangirl before Carry On, but you can read them in either order. The next book I have to recommend to you is Ender's Game by Orson Scott Card. This story is my sci-fi pick for the list. It's more of a classic YA. It is a little bit older, but it's definitely a great book that I would definitely recommend. This story follows Ender Wiggin, a child prodigy who is sent to a space battle school in which he must train to prepare for the upcoming war. As he is much younger than all the other kids, he's very small, he gets picked on a lot, and we really get to see him grow throughout the story and persevere and overcome so many different challenges. I love following books in which we really get to see our main characters grow in a training environment, and this book we definitely see that. There's lots of war games and competitions, and we see Ender in his battle school as he progresses. This book was incredibly ahead of its time. I actually listened to it on audiobook and highly enjoyed it, so if you do end up picking it up, I would also suggest trying to check out the audiobook. So if you're in the mood for sci-fi this fall, Ender's Game is definitely one that I think you would enjoy. The final book I have to recommend to you today is An Ember in the Ashes by Sabaa Tahir. Now if you're ready to dive into just a big series with great world building, good characters, this is definitely the series for you. This is another one of those novels like Ender's Game where we really get to see our characters train, and I love that aspect about this. This story follows two different main characters. The first one is Laia of Sarah, who is a slave scholar girl, and the second is Elias Viturius, a martial soldier. Elias is at the top of his class in Blackcliff Academy. I love learning about the mass and how they train and how they're developed. This world is inspired by ancient Rome, which was so fun. Sabaa Tahir has great world building, and I love learning more about her world. Third book in the series actually just came out, so you can get up to the third one, but the series is not complete yet, just to forewarn you. This series is so much fun and I really enjoy it, so I definitely think you should try and pick it up if you're looking for a fantasy recommendation for this fall. Now I'm going to be sharing with you guys some of my most anticipated book releases for this fall. The first book I'm looking forward to this fall is Wildcard by Marie Lu. This book comes out September 18th, and it's actually the sequel to the first book in the series, which is called Warcross. I listened to Warcross when it came out on Audible, and I liked it but didn't love it. The concept was really interesting, and I really liked her world. It was just some small things that I didn't really fall in love with, but I definitely am going to be picking up the second one because I have a lot of high hopes for this world, and I hope that she just continues to grow it. So as not to spoil it, I'll just give you a quick summary of what the first book is about. In Warcross, we follow our main character, Amika Chen, who is a hacker, and she accidentally hacks herself into the world's most popular online mobile game called Warcross. Due to a glitch, she becomes an overnight sensation, and we follow her story as she tries to navigate this world. It was a really fun sci-fi read, and I'm excited to see where she takes it in Wildcard. The next book is Drive by Neil and Jared Schusterman, and this comes out October 2nd. I don't know a lot about this book, but I know that I love Neal Shusterman's writing. I read Scythe and Thunderhead, which I absolutely loved, so I'm really excited to see what this series is about. The authors are actually going to be at the Texas Teen Book Festival this year, which I want to try and go to, so let me know if any of you guys are planning on going. Neal and Jared are actually a father-son duo, which I think is really fun, and this book, from what I know, just follows a society in which there's been a huge drought. Beyond that, I don't really know much, but I know that I love Neal's writing, and I'll pretty much read whatever he writes, so I'm excited to see what it's about. The next book I'm looking forward to is What If It's Us by Adam Silvera and Becky Albertalli. This book comes out October 9th. Both of these authors are just absolute powerhouses in the YA world, so putting them together, you know that you are just going to get an amazing story. This story follows Arthur and Ben in a meet cute in New York City. I think it's just going to be absolutely adorable, and I cannot wait to read it. The next book that I'm looking forward to is Kingdom of Ash by Sarah J. Maas, and that comes out October 23rd. If you haven't heard the hype on all of Sarah J. Maas's books, this is the 7th and final book in the Throne of Glass series. I feel like she's been putting out books forever. I'm a little bit behind. I still haven't read Tower of Dawn, so I'm gonna try and read it before getting into Kingdom of Ash, but I want to catch up before the story gets completed, and I want to see how she wraps up everything. As this is the last book in the series, there's not a whole lot that I can say without spoiling anything, so I'll just leave it that I'm excited to see how she wraps up the story. The final book of my anticipated fall releases is Muse of Nightmares by Laini Taylor, and that comes out November 24th. This book is a sequel to Strange the Dreamer, which I recently read this year and absolutely loved. I really enjoyed Laszlo. I wasn't a huge fan of the romance, but I still want to pick up the second book because Laszlo is my baby and I need to know what happens to him. The first book follows Laszlo Strange, who is a kid that is obsessed with the mythic lost city of Weep. Laszlo's always been kind of an outcast, always in his head, very much a dreamer, but this story just follows his journey as he investigates this great mystery of the city of Weep. If you're a fantasy lover and haven't picked up Strange the Dreamer yet, I would definitely recommend it, and then that way you can read Muse of Nightmares when it comes out and we can cry about it, laugh about it, hopefully enjoy it together. Next up, I'm going to be giving you my back to school movie recommendations. For this, I have 3 different book to movie adaptations that I'm looking forward to this fall. The first is The Hate U Give movie, which comes out October 19th. I still have not picked up this book, which I cannot believe because everyone has just been raving about it, and I really have been meaning to get around to it, but for some reason I haven't picked it up. So I'm definitely planning to pick up the book before October 19th so that I can go and see it when the movie comes out. The movie I'm excited about in this back to school season is To All the Boys I've Loved Before, which is coming to Netflix. I read the book a couple years ago, so I might need a little refresher before going into it, but I remember that it was a really cute story and I enjoyed reading it, so I can't wait to see the Netflix adaptation of it. This movie follows Laura Jean, and she secretly writes letters to all of the crushes that she ever has and stores them in a box, but one day the letters get mailed out to her crushes and she has to deal with the fallout of that. I don't remember a lot about the book, but I remember it being really cute, so I'm hoping that Netflix does a good job on the adaptation. This next movie I'm super excited for, and that is Fantastic Beasts: The Crimes of Grindelwald. This movie comes out November 16th, and it is the second one in the Fantastic Beasts franchise. For those who don't know, the Fantastic Beasts movies are a spin-off of the Harry Potter series. We follow Newt Scamander and his love of all of his different magical creatures. In this movie, we get to go back to Hogwarts and see young Dumbledore, which I'm super excited about. So if you're a Harry Potter lover like me, I am definitely excited for this one. And finally, to wrap up this video, I'm going to be sharing with you guys some of my tips and tricks to read more as we get back into this busy fall season. I know for me, trying to read while I'm in school is really hard. I'm a mechanical engineering and mathematics major, so I'm definitely kept busy with all my schoolwork, and I don't really find myself having a lot of time to kill where I'm just like looking for stuff to read like I am in the summer. So I have to be very strategic about my reading time, and I've developed a lot of different habits and tips that I thought that I'd share with you today. The first thing is audiobooks. Honestly, I don't know where I would be without audiobooks. While I'm in school, this is how I get the majority of my reading done. If you're not on the audiobook train, let me see if I can convince you. Walk into class, boom, audiobook. Doing laundry, boom, audiobook. Can't fall asleep, boom, audiobook. The possibilities are endless, and so I would definitely recommend getting into audiobooks if you haven't. Along that same line, getting the Kindle app for my phone was another lifesaver. There's so many times, either at the dining hall or waiting for class to start, or just little times when you have some free time but you're obviously not going to pull out a whole book. Having the Kindle app on your phone is a great way to fit some reading in even when you can't sit down and physically read. This sometimes causes me to fragment books a little bit because I'm just reading little bits here and there, so it's kind of a little bit harder to get through stuff. But I'm also able to just just stay up to date and keep reading in my life instead of just forgetting about it completely. Another huge thing for me is being very purposeful about the time that I have and making sure that I make time for reading. One thing that I do is I have a free app called Moment on my phone that tracks my phone usage for the day, and this for me has been huge because it lets me know how much time I'm spending on my phone each day. You can set limits for yourself, and this was big for me so that I make sure that I'm not wasting time on my phone when I could be actually studying or reading. It's been a huge lifesaver for me, is being able to actually physically see how much time I'm spending on my phone and then be more purposeful in changing some of my habits. The other tip I have is to have a scheduled time of the day that you can read every day. Once you have your school schedule figured out, you'll be able to get into more of a routine, but I would recommend having a time of day that you always set aside for reading, whether it be right when you wake up, right before bed, maybe in the middle of the day, but just being purposeful and setting a time aside that's just dedicated to reading. Final tip for reading more is to not stress if you're not reading. This was huge for me last year, was when I was in the middle of finals or if I had a busy week and I wasn't reading, I would kind of get stressed out because I wasn't getting through books like I wanted to. But sometimes life is just going to get in the way, or you're not feeling it, or you just want to relax and watch Netflix and veg out after a tough week, and that's totally fine. Don't stress yourself out about it. You can take a break and come back to it next week. The books are always going to be there from you, so just don't worry about it. Okay, that was my back to school guide for readers. If you guys liked this video and got something out of it, whether that be a suggestion or a tip for reading, be sure to like and subscribe to my channel. I make bookish content weekly, so I would love to have you join my little booktube community. Be sure to let me know down below in the comments if you have any back to school reading recommendations, movies that you're looking forward to, or if you're going to be trying to read any of the books that I mentioned. As always, thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you next time. Bye!